Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Damn Maybe Project. I know it's been a while since I've done a podcast, but I've been traveling, and if you're watching on YouTube, you'll probably see some of my travel videos on there. I just haven't really been inspired to do a podcast. Haven't really seen an opportunity, maybe taken an opportunity to do it. I guess I haven't been moved enough to do so, and a couple weeks ago, whenever the riots and looting and rallies really started after George Floyd's death, I happened to be in Denver, Colorado at the time, and got to witness and sort of be a part of a Black Lives Matter rally, and I was just really, really moved, and a lot of emotion, a lot of energy there, and it's very clear that there's a lot of anger in the world right now. And I don't know, I was coming back home. I guess I was looking on Instagram, and I saw that TJ was in Ruston, and TJ's someone who I've wanted to interview for a long time anyway, and I thought there's no better opportunity than right now to have an uncomfortable conversation. We kind of started that off a couple days before this podcast. We had lunch, and kind of got to know each other a little bit better, because we'd introduced each other ourselves before, I guess, but had never really sat down and had a one-on-one conversation. So after that, we agreed to do a podcast, and this kind of starts off with getting to know TJ a little bit more, and kind of his story of college, and then we really start to dive into what's going on in the world, and maybe some solutions to fix it. Who knows? This conversation is not perfect. That's not the point of it. It was just to challenge each other, and to hopefully challenge you in some way. I think that the whole podcast, if you've listened to previous episodes, it's just to learn more and to gain new friends. And I definitely think that both of those things happened on yesterday, whenever this is being recorded. So, I definitely gained a friend. And if you don't listen to the whole podcast, I gained a tremendous amount from it. So, thank you for your support. I'm going to put TJ's Instagram, Twitter right here. I'll put mine, Instagram, right here as well. If you want to support me, the easiest way to do that is Venmo. I'll put all that stuff in the description. If you really want to support me, the easiest way to do it is just subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes, share this podcast. Please post it all over Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Do it all. I'll take anything I can get. If you have comments, please leave them. I'd love to hear your opinion on what we had to say and what we were talking about. And if you want to come on, reach out. I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. So thank you for your support again. I really, truly love each and every one of you who are listening to this. And, enjoy. It's a test real quick. Just
hello.
Keep talking.
I think me and Dan's band name would be
me and okay. All right, I see what you're saying.
Dan in the Pits.
Dan in the Pits.
Dan in the Pits.
Oh man, we could be a punk band, like mosh pits for everyone.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, Dan in the Pits. TJ Pitts. TJ Pittman, excuse me. TJ Pittman. Obviously, if you've been paying attention to this, I haven't done a podcast in a while, and I realized that the current climate of the world is pretty wild, and I saw that TJ was in Ruston, and I was going to be in Ruston, so I wanted to know more about TJ to begin with, but knowing that he's pursuing law and just kind of knowing a little bit more about his background. I really wanted to get his perspective on life and learn more about him. We kind of did that a couple days ago at lunch.
Oh yeah.
But that's going to set up more for today. So, yeah. TJ, I know you're not really from anywhere, but I guess could you start out a little bit about how you grew up?
So yeah, my dad was in the Army, moved around a whole bunch, went something to like 7 different elementary schools. Born in Germany, I've lived Louisiana, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, just like all over, I guess, the southeast,
Southeast, yeah.
Southeast states, yeah, around the Gulf. Had to never eat shredded wheats.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that one.
The compass.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. I'm with you.
I'm ridiculous. So yeah, did middle school primarily in Florida. That was awesome. Jacksonville area. Super cool, super fun. And then came to Louisiana for high school, graduated from Leesville High, Vernon Parish in the middle of like nowhere. So the culture shock of going from Jacksonville, Florida to Leesville, Louisiana was one thing. And then had in-state tuition, always knew that I was probably going to do some sort of graduate school. So I was like, tech is pretty cheap and yeah, can't be that bad.
How did you first hear about tech?
I first heard about it because of their engineering program primarily. So when I first came to tech, I was like trying to do engineering and I couldn't get past Math 240.
Gotcha.
But I have a really good friend named Sarah Duffy. Me and her went to high school together. We were like stationed at the same base beforehand when we were really young. So it was cool.
Her
like
family's also in the military.
Yeah. It was cool like meeting up in high school again. And then we both came to tech. Now we're both in law school. I actually introduced her to her fiance now, my friend Tyler.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
And I'm marrying them next year. So
what? That's awesome.
That's dope. But yeah, came to Louisiana
Reverend
Tech
TJ.
and I know I can do funerals. When you get ordained, you can do funerals, baptisms, and weddings. So I'm like, I might have to open up.
Quick side story. My buddy Randy Bennett got ordained as a minister to marry 2 of his gay friends. They flew him to Washington, D.C., and once they got there, he was like, do you guys really want me to marry you? And like, no, we're going to get somebody else. We just wanted you to come on the trip. But we called him the Reverend for a solid couple of years there.
I love that. That is awesome. But that's the first thing I asked them. I was like, are you sure you want me to do this?
Yeah.
But no, I came to tech and always had a job, was always doing something on tech's campus. I was an RA, student recruiter, did the OSL life.
Joined a cult. How was that? I'm just kidding.
OSL
my brother was an OSL.
Student orientation leaders are not a cult.
I wanted to be one.
They do not make us say this, but
I would always go through the application process and then never get letters of recommendation. Like I did it like 3 times. And I was just like, Daniel Doopy, just put me in there. It's like, it doesn't work like that, dude. I'm like, all right, fair enough.
It is great experience.
Yeah.
But it is also, it's a lot of hard work.
For sure.
Looking back on it, you don't realize, but any type of like, not to downplay OSL, but any type of like summer camp-ish type program, leadership type program like that, you really don't realize how much work you put into it until like it's over and you're like, wow, like how did I manage to corral all these people and have them listen to me and do all this other stuff? It's like,
yeah. When did you graduate high school?
I graduated high school 2014.
Okay.
And then graduate from tech 2018.
Okay. Yeah, so we were only there for like a year together at tech for a year together because I graduated in 2015. So
yeah.
And I guess that was we'll just jump right into it here. That was really how you stuck out to me because I guess I still continued to stay around Ruston for years after, but all of a sudden there was a black man in Pike fraternity. And I think it's a really awesome story, like how it all came about. So if you don't mind, just like starting from freshman year, sharing how you joined Pike.
Yeah, so freshman year I went through Rush, and I thought that I was gonna go one way. I thought I was gonna be in one house. I thought I was gonna go somewhere, in general, but the two places I had my eye on Pike and one other place.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out, I guess, that year for me. Went through Rush, really thought I could tell that people, liked me. I was having good conversations and stuff. But came around bid day, I was in line waiting for my bid, and then like got to the table. They were like searching through the bids, and they were like, "Oh, did you get an email from us?" Because apparently if you don't get a bid, you're supposed to get an email telling you not to show up. And I was like, nah. So didn't get a bid that freshman year from anywhere. And I was like, well, Greek life's not for me. I'm just going to like chill, vibe out, do my own thing.
At that point, did you think it was about race, or did you just think it was you, or?
I would say at that point I started putting the dots together and connecting the dots, because from my freshman.
Something that you pointed out the other day was that you had gone and visited Northwestern a couple different times.
Yeah.
And you said that you had recognized the diversity within fraternities and sororities there.
Exactly.
And that was something that whenever you brought it up, it did make a lot more sense, because I was in Sigma Nu at Tech, and we interacted with those guys at Northwestern a couple times. And it was very very obvious
apparent
that they were different than us, and that we were not the same chapter.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure we played them one year at Tech. No, they beat us in the last minute.
Yeah, they came up here and they spanked us at the last minute. It was very heartbreaking.
But I do remember like they were in Hideaway Park, and like our chapter didn't even show up, didn't even come down there, because like I think a couple people did, and it was like, hey, I don't think we really want to hang out with these guys, which hindsight's 20/20, but we probably should have, because of how I'll say undiverse our chapter was.
Yeah, man, it was so that was a cultural thing too, because seeing the Northwestern chapters, everybody is diverse there. The fraternities, the sororities, they're just way more intertwined. People go to each other's parties. I would say even like fraternities to other fraternities,
Yeah. That's a big no-no.
Yeah. Tech is like, it's a completely different culture. So I started putting those dots together, I guess, when I didn't get a bid, because I was on SGA like as a freshman. Gotcha. I really came to Tech's campus and like immediately started putting myself out there. Was the only freshman to join SGA in the fall, and then I think another freshman came either winter quarter or in the spring, Brittany Kastner, and me and her were the only two people like who started SGA our freshman year and then continued on to our senior year. I think I ended up like quitting fall quarter senior year. I was like, I got other stuff to do, but I started putting the dots together, because I'm like, how am I good enough to like, it's like you're realizing the boxes that people kind of limit you in, because I'm good enough to talk to you at SGA and I'm good enough to hang out with you here, but like, how am I not good enough to like be in your fraternity? But I'm good enough to work out with you at Lambright. Right. So that was really interesting. And then my sophomore year rolled around, and I was like, I'm not going to rush. My mind was the furthest thing away from rush. And can I talk about that?
I think so. Like you said the other day, everybody's kind of graduated, so I think we're good.
Yeah, everybody's.
Also, I have 300 subscribers. The most views I've had is 600. So
so
if Sam Speed wants to come after me,
he's not even in that department anymore.
I'll give you my phone number. That's interesting.
So it was like Rush Week was going on. I had no idea. I was working and stuff, and I get a call in the middle of the night from Will Lorio, who is Pike president. He's like, hey man, I heard that if you rushed that you would want to go Pike, and I know you had concerns because you were like, you know, Pike isn't going to accept a black guy, whoop-de-woo. And he was like, I just want you to know that that's not a problem. That's not an issue this year. We will absolutely give a bid to a black person. And I was like, okay. And hung up the phone with him. I was like, I got to think about it. Because, like, now I know that they called me after cut room. And after cut room is sometimes like midnight.
Right.
So I immediately called Trey Nelson, who was like,
you had not signed up for Rush.
Not signed up at all. Had not paid anything. Did not submit anything. Missed the first 3 days of Rush. So I hung up with Will Lorio, called Trey Nelson. He was like a Sigma Nu at Northwestern, super involved, Northwestern president, all that. And I was like, yo, man, like these guys at Pike up here just like offered me a bid. Should I take it? Should I do it? He was like, yeah, go for it, man. Like, you can do it. Like, you can run it. Like, you're awesome. So next day I woke up, like, hit up Jake Atkinson, who was IFC president. He was also a Pike, and he pulled some strings somehow, made some excuses, put me in Rush. I had to split between two houses. So I split between Pike, because that's where I wanted to go, and Pie Cap, because I heard they had banana pudding, and I love banana pudding. And Pie Cap are just some like cool guys in general. I knew a lot of them from SGA and just like doing other stuff on campus.
Yeah, those guys were always super involved.
Yeah, always. Probably the most involved.
Yeah.
Which is a great thing.
Yes.
But yeah, I did those 2 days of Rush and then accepted my bid into Pike, and I was the first African American initiated active alumni for the Gamma Psi chapter. And it's really cool looking back on it. It's really cool looking at how diverse the fraternity is now. You know, it's cool to see that I just wasn't a like one person or like one exception type circumstance. Like I definitely made it my mission to like join Pike and then set it up and have tough conversations and push the envelope so that after I left, it didn't go right back to how it was.
You changed the culture.
Yeah. So it's cool seeing like the young Pike guys, but then also and how they've changed, because I definitely feel like our culture and the Pike fraternity, how it was set up 5 years ago, is completely different how it's set up now.
Yeah.
And just the type of people that we're accepting. So it's really cool to see the young guys and that cultural change, but it's really cool to see like the young black guys, because I'm like, awesome.
Are you still involved with them?
Not as much. I mean, like while I'm here in Ruston, you know, I'll like hit them up, say, hey man, let's go grab lunch or something. Not anything really formally, just because I'm not here all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
So, okay, obviously you are an athlete. Were you an athlete in high school? We didn't cover that the other day.
Yeah, so I'm always asked, did you play basketball? No. My depth, these are contacts. I'm like -8 in both eyes. My depth perception is terrible.
Yeah, I'm -4, so I feel that.
And then I just moved around so much. So I know in like, you know, late elementary school, you know, early middle school, you know, you raise all this money to go to like this summer camp, but then I moved, so then I couldn't go to summer camp. So what was the point for raising the money?
Right.
Or you pay all this money to get this uniform, this equipment, and then I moved, so then that's throwing money away.
Yeah.
Some people would let you try out, some people wouldn't. So during middle school, I started doing like track, cross country, and then I was like, let me just stick to that, because it was so easy to just show up to a school and be like, here's my time. And like, you know, if the coach doesn't want,
it's not a gigantic investment either.
Exactly.
It's something you can take with you too. You know, you pay for some shoes. All right,
exactly.
let's
keep it pushing.
Yeah.
So I did track and cross country in high school. I was like track captain, cross country captain. That was really dope. That was really cool. So, and then I came to college and I was like, man, I'm tired of being skinny. So that freshman year was probably the most dedicated I've ever been in my life. To the gym, like working out 2-a-days, waking up in the morning and doing like heavy lifting, immediately going to the calf.
Anything to do with, I guess you said freshman year, so
yeah.
that wasn't Pike
So it was before Pike.
Yeah.
heavy lifting, being the first person in the calf when they open, and just like hitting up the OG omelet lady. I don't know if you remember her, but I don't know where she is, but she made the best omelets. And then going back later on in the day, and then like doing some type of calisthenic work or whatever. But yeah, so then I joined PIKE, and then then I joined my sophomore year. I joined PIKE, but then I also was an RA, and I was an RA for the Nelson Apartments.
Okay.
So I was right next to Lambright.
Right.
So that first year in PIKE and everything just ended up becoming more of a Lambright rat.
Mm-hmm.
Just like always in the gym. And then that summer, the same summer I was in OSL, I wasn't taking summer classes, and Lambright changed the rule to where you had to be taking summer classes to use it. So I did, out of the blue, Nicole DeFee, she was my English professor. She was like, you should come do Murph or whatever. And I had no idea what Murph was. I looked it up. It was like a mile run, these pull-ups and stuff. And I'm like, man, this is terrible, but I'm for it.
Yeah.
So me and my buddy Francis Reeves, we went to CrossFit Ruston for Murph and died, and I loved it. And then I really love the community aspect of it. Like everybody died, but also everybody hung out and like was talking afterwards, and it was super cool to see. So the next day I joined the gym, and I was like, oh, man, I'm just gonna stay here for 3 months, like get super lean, like learn how to do some muscle ups and stuff. And then just dip out. And then before, I was probably like 2 months into doing CrossFit, and then the owners came to me, Evan and Lauren, amazing people, love them to death. They were like, have you ever thought being a coaching? I was like, no, but I'll give it a shot. And yeah, just went through their little training program, went down to New Orleans and got my level 1 certification in CrossFit, and then been coaching pretty much ever since. I coached there until I graduated. I'm not coaching anywhere in Birmingham, but I've came back several spring breaks and stuff just to coach at CrossFit Ruston. I'm coaching this summer and loving it, man.
Yeah. I know you're still in school and you have aspirations and goals through that, but do you have any fitness goals? You looking, like, I always have to like look for a competition coming up or something like that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I really want to do a Spartan race. I really want to do the trifecta,
I'm not familiar with that. With the trifecta. I mean, I know what a Spartan race is, but
yeah, so I think there's like 3 types of Spartan races.
Okay.
It's like a Spartan sprint, and then like I think maybe like a normal one, and then like a really, really intense one.
Gotcha.
And you're supposed to, if you do all 3 of them in a year, then you like complete the trifecta.
Gotcha.
So that's a goal, but that is a little bit more long term. Right now, what I'm trying to do is be able to do a half marathon. So even though I'm lifting and stuff, I am running like probably like 3 times a week, trying to get some miles in. And I want to be able to do a half marathon because I eventually want to do a triathlon. So 2020 is all about running, and then 2021 is going to be about swimming, and then 2022 is going to be about biking. And so hopefully 2023 triathlon
put it all together
will be because I also just like I want to take my time, and like I want to enjoy it, you know, because I want to have fun with it.
Yeah, I can definitely respect that. I have an older brother, and he's done 3 Ironmen. So, and he was talking about running 100 miles at the end of the month, but it's not gonna happen anymore. So, he was like, "Yeah, I want you to." He lives in Houston, and he was like, "I want you to come down here and like, help me pace and keep hydrated and stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll totally do that," because he was wanting to run 100 miles in 24 hours, and
that means mad dash.
Yeah, it's very much the Goggins mindset of keep it going, keep hammering at it.
Dude, you gotta. I read Goggins' book like every couple of months.
Yeah,
like, that is such a good like mental trigger, mental mindset.
I kept seeing it. I kept seeing people reading it or listening to the audio book, and I it just kind of kept chipping away at me. So I bought the audio book and I listened to the whole thing in a day.
Yeah.
I mean, I had the opportunity. I saw the opportunity like at work I was just going to be doing a individual task all day. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I'm
incredibly inspiring.
I'm pretty sure it's in my car if you want to read it.
You know, he talks about at one point he was running on broken legs, and I can't tell you how many times I've gone to that, you know, halfway through a run, like, oh, your knee's hurting? Like, well, guess what? Like, that ain't shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It happened today whenever I was riding my bike. I did like 27 miles a day, and probably mile 17 or 18, it was like, dude, it's hot.
Yeah.
Like, you're out here by yourself.
Yeah.
You're about to run out of water.
And it's like, I think it's like that, like, once you get 70%, like, done, like, 3/4% done, I feel like that's when it's really, you really just have to get over the mental hump.
Yeah.
Because, like, you're warming up the first little half, and then you're like, all right, I'm halfway. But then you're like, oh. Like, you go, all right, I'm halfway, and then it becomes, dang, I'm just halfway. You know? And then it's like, you got to just, like, fight past that mental block until you're like, all right, let's get it. So, no, I feel that, man.
There's also something about just grinding away. I guess no. What I was gonna say is, there's something about like checking that box every day that like slowly conditions you to you feel off if you don't do it.
Oh yeah.
You know Cam Hanes.
I've heard of it.
He's an ultra marathon guy. Bow hunter really is how he got popularity, but he runs every single day.
Yeah.
Like 12 miles every single day.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like what I want to do, and I'm struggling to get like 5, 6.
But you know, this dude also like has made his living and continues to do so, but he lives in an area where he has like a very like walkable mountain in his like dang near backyard. So he just like runs to the top of this mountain and hits the little totem at the top and runs back down.
The life, man.
But yeah, we'll get off of that. So I mean, you still continuing to do CrossFit, and I guess, is it more of the community stuff that you fell in love with CrossFit, or had you done Olympic lifts and power cleans and stuff before?
Never.
Because like I experienced that stuff in high school through. Like, I broke my wrist my sophomore year of high school, and I won't do a power clean. Like, not unless I'm, like, in the backcountry and, like, have to get something up like that. But, like, I just learned to, like, despise some of those lifts, you know? And obviously you really, really love that stuff.
I guess I don't despise it because I never did them.
Right.
So then I was like, wait, we can do this?
Yeah.
Like, you can move your body this way?
You mean I can literally sling this weight around?
I can throw this? Just drop this barbell? So yeah, I guess because I had never done them, I'd only did, like, while I was in Lambright and stuff, I was only doing kind of like bodybuilding type stuff.
Okay.
So then with doing CrossFit and having the Olympic lifts, and CrossFit is just so it's so cool to the fact that I feel like anybody can do it, and like all you can do is just get better.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you have good form, good coaching, people telling you, hey, take that weight off.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, like, you know, fix your form. As long as you have that good stuff, then anybody can do it, and all you can do is get better. Like, and it comes back around to the community, because it's so cool being there when a 80-year-old woman does her first pull up. You get what I'm saying? I
was just about to kind of say, so my mom goes to CrossFit Ruston every once in a while. Yeah. She's recently started going pretty regularly, sometime in the morning. But anyway, she hasn't like exercised in years. And she told me that she was going to CrossFit, and like immediately, like, I'm like, oh, why would you do that? Like, why are you doing that? And then like I kind of talked to her about what she was doing, and she was like, oh yeah, they don't let me, they're not letting me pick up heavy lifts, and like, they're kind of changing workouts for me. And so I'm like, all right, good deal. Like, at least, you're not just getting in there and they're forcing you to deadlift and that kind of deal.
Because people look at the CrossFit games and they think that like all CrossFit people want to do that or want to be like that.
Yeah.
And nah, that's not happening, man. Not happening over here. But it's fun setting a goal for yourself and like pushing it.
Do you have any goals of CrossFit Games type stuff?
Absolutely not, especially with everything that's going on with that. I'm not sure if you're aware, but like the CEO of CrossFit was tweeting some reckless stuff, like against the pandemic, COVID-19, and against George Floyd, and even more people in CrossFit, like headquarters or whatever, came out and spoke about the different things he would say during meetings and stuff. So a lot of CrossFit gyms are like de-affiliating, stepping away from it. Two awesome CrossFit athletes, Chandler Smith and Noah, they said that they weren't doing the games until like changes and stuff were made. And I think that's really dope. Yeah. So cancel culture is interesting right now. But also everything that almost every CrossFit gym is saying is that we don't need the CrossFit name. Like, we have our community.
Right.
We can still do CrossFit style workouts. We can still do everything. We just don't really need the name CrossFit. So yeah. I would say it's about the community because everyone's working out together at the end of the day. Everyone's showing up at the same time, doing the same workout, fighting the same fight. And, you know, gyms, All Hours, Lambright, all those places, they have, like, their community, but it's also, like, there's nothing like working out with somebody. You know, there's nothing like sweating and saying, this is awful. Yeah. I'm dying. And then they're like, come on, keep going. Come on, you got 2 more. Yeah. You know, and you feed off of that energy.
Oh, no doubt.
And it's crazy, man. Like,
I think that's with anything. Yeah. You know, it's going on a hike with your friends or like biking. Yeah, keep that out of the screen. No free ads.
No free ads.
Except for World Envision.
Support them.
You talking about the changing the name and that kind of deal. Mm-hmm. I will put it in these broad of terms. There was a jiu-jitsu gym in Northeast Louisiana whose namesake basically did some messed up things. We won't get into specifics, but that person was removed, and you know the name didn't really change that much. But the community was already there. Yeah. Like, and, you know, I think it was probably addressed to some of those, the founding members of it or the regulars there. Yeah. And but I think it's only grown since then. Yeah. So, I think there's nothing but positivity that can happen out of that. Like what you're talking about, where somebody does something messed up and it's like, all right, we need to separate ourselves from this person or what this person's associated with. But like you said, that community was already there. And if we say, hey, look, guys, we're going to be workout Ruston instead of CrossFit Ruston, but we're all staying here. Nothing's really changing other than the name. Yeah, like, I think most people can get along with that.
It's a name. And then it's like, what do I do with my shirts? I mean, like, you know, like, CrossFit t-shirts are some of the most comfortable shirts ever. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm just like, I can't get rid of these. Like, they're literally all I have.
Just threw out everything from your wardrobe.
I can't. I'm sorry.
That's funny. But so you graduated from Louisiana Tech with what kind of degree?
Political science, bachelor's in political science. Shout out Dr. Amanda Samford. She's awesome. If you are in the political science department, then you know what I'm talking about because she's
Pig.
Yeah,
Pig was
Pig
cool.
Is dope. Pig is my advisor.
I took a political science class from him.
And then Mir, Professor Mir.
Okay.
Jeremy Mir. He taught a lot of like. He's the reason why I despise politics today because he was over all the like philosophy classes. So we dug deep into Socrates and Plato and Aristotle.
Oh, wow. And
what democracy is supposed to look like and how it's supposed to be set up. So that was really eye-opening for me. And he like believed in the honor code. So he would give us our tests and he would be like, you can take it anywhere on campus, have it in my office by like 3.
That's cool.
You know, so it's like, because he valued more the conversations and like wrapping your brain around these complex ideas and also pushing it rather than like a standardized test.
It's funny because my business professors would always say that, just get the concept, and if you can't, put the math together, it's okay. And then I would always get C's. So,
should have came to poli-sci.
Yeah. So did you go straight from engineering to political science?
Yeah, I took that intro to poli-sci class that second quarter when I tried to take Math 240 again. Mm-hmm. And I just always been good in like civics, government. I had a great high school civics teacher. So once I got in that political science class, I was like, why am I trying to do engineering when I can do political science? Like the back of my hand. I'm interested in this stuff. I find it fun. So yeah, let me just go for it. So I went straight into political science, made sure that I would still graduate on time, the whole 9 yards and stuff. And then graduated in May, and then in August immediately started law school.
Was that the goal initially when you went to political science, to go to law school?
The goal initially was not. The goal initially was probably to go into politics. I had did Louisiana Boys State, and that was just a cool program.
Yeah, can you? I'm somewhat familiar with it, but can you kind of explain what Boys State is?
Louisiana Boys State is a mock leadership program that's put on by the American Legion.
Okay.
The American Legion does a lot of work with the VFW and stuff like that. So juniors in high school who are about to go to their senior year, each Legion post picks like however many kids they sponsor to send from their parish to Louisiana Boys State. It's on NSU's campus. And they pretty much, we as counselors help them build their own state government. So by the end of the first day, we do city elections, then we do parish elections, and then by the end of the week, we have state elections where we actually elect a governor, lieutenant governor, commission of agriculture, the whole 9 yards. So it's cool. It's literally just like government building. It's like a huge thought process and like experiment pretty much, because like we're telling all of these juniors in high school, figure this out, put this together, like put a school board together. Yeah. We had an entire court system, and I feel like maybe that also sparked my interest in law, was that, there was an entire school board, court system, city system. Like the program's grown so much now, they even do like mock hurricane evacuations.
Oh, wow.
So like it's really, we even have like a press. So like there's like 7 or 8 parishes. So each, like one person is the press reporter for that parish. And they go around to all the elections, all the whatever's going on, and they like report the news. So every morning we have like a newspaper like for breakfast. It's like, it's serious.
That's
it
awesome.
Is like, it is out of control. But what were we talking about? Politics?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
You said that you had initially gotten into political science to get into politics.
Originally I was going to go into politics, and then that all came crashing down with. Did you want
to be the president or like?
Yeah. High hopes for any and everything, but that all came crashing down with the last election. So
okay, fair enough. I guess. So that you're saying the last election like killed your want to be in politics.
Absolutely.
Okay, because that was my next question. Like, what made you want to get into politics? Like, what 17-year-old, 18-year-old? Well, I guess you were 20 by that point. But like, what young person wants to get into politics right now?
Well, I don't think any of us do. I feel like a lot of us do. Let me correct that. A lot of us would want to get into politics. A lot of people are passionate about politics. But a lot of us don't like the current system that runs in it and that is upheld.
Yeah.
And it's, it's hard to get your foot in the door. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You got to do all this work. You got to do all these unpaid internships and all this networking and all this talking to people and stuff. Is like, no, I want to enact change. Let's talk about policies. Let's push some things forward. So I personally don't think I have the patience or the tolerance, because despite who was elected in the last election, it was a very ugly election. It was very disgusting.
Indeed.
And when you think about 4 years before that, you know, Barack Obama and the person who was opposing him, they stopped people in the crowd when they were getting out of hand. And they're like, no, he's a great person. He's a great husband. He's done this.
Yeah.
We just disagree on these topics. And the fact that you know, the fact that is now lost, I don't think we'll ever, I hope we get back to the point to where we can like still have respectful elections, but the last election was terrible. I don't have the tolerance for that. I don't.
Yeah.
Like, you can't talk about me, my family, my mom like that.
Right.
Like, nah. And so that's why I started thinking about law, because I'm like, I can go to bed every single night and say, you know, I helped this person out with this. I helped this person out with this. I need to do a little bit more research on this case. Whatever it may be. To me, it's way more personable work that I can do rather than trying to climb a ladder and eventually having to sell my soul and all this other stuff.
Right.
For the sake of a political party? No.
Yeah. So, do you mind talking about, you said that you wanted to go into more of a family law type of deal. Do you mind talking about what inspired you to do that?
Yeah, no. So family law, my interest in that, I would say, came about when I was at Tech, when I was kind of like figuring out, all right, maybe I'm going to go to law school. Maybe I can do this. I started doing the Teach One to Lead One program. Walter Allen runs it. He's an awesome guy. It's an amazing program.
He's a local guy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was thinking about that after we had talked the other day, and I was like, I didn't know if that was like a national program or if it was just a local deal or what.
It's the program itself, I think, is like more Southeastern region.
Okay.
I know it started in Atlanta, but Walter's the guy who runs it here, and he's been I would say, from my point of view, he's been the main person kind of like pushing it throughout North Louisiana and then to different places throughout Louisiana. And then we go to these high schools, and we went to these high schools and junior high schools, middle schools, and whatever kids were like at risk or who were getting in trouble a lot, skipping school a lot, whatever it may be, once a week we would hang out with them during their PE hour. And
was this something that you got involved in on your own or through PIKE, or?
I got involved with it through Railway, actually, because Walter would visit Railway.
And you were working there.
Mm-hmm. Walter would visit Railway almost every morning, and we would just talk and stuff. And then Walter, he came to me one day. He was like, hey, man, I'm doing something. I really think it would be good if you were a part of it. And I was on board since day one. I think we talked about it initially one time, and then the very next day I was doing the training and stuff for it. Met a lot of cool and interesting people who were mentors, and like met a lot of kids, but that was the first time that I saw how parents can really hinder and box in their kids really hard. I think we said it at the best at lunch the other day. Like, it's one thing to not support your child. It's another thing to, what do we say?
Like actively work towards their demise.
Yeah.
Like actively, like, it's the examples that you were saying was like, you know, some mom was telling the younger kid that he had to go sell drugs because that was what his brother did, or something along those lines. And it's just like, it seems like we both come from very supportive families, and it's like we can't even fathom that coming out of our parents' mouths. Like, it just blows me away. That people still have to endure that.
Deal with that, and then just imagine that home life. You know, imagine like that living scenario, and then having to go to bed, wake up the next morning, show up in school, and put on this facade of like everything's okay. Yeah. So that was I guess that was the first time. Growing up, you always see what's going on in your house, you know? Mm-hmm. But then I guess that was the first time where I was like kind of like getting to peek through at other people's houses, and I'm like, dang, like, I want to help fix this, you know, like I want to pour into people, you know, I can't save everybody, but I really want to help save the family dynamic. So yeah, I guess that's where the interest started, and now I'm trying to plan. I am planning, preparing to eventually have my own law practice. It strictly be family law, maybe a little criminal defense, everything from adoptions to custody battles, divorces here and there. But I want to take a different approach to the law. Like I was telling you about it, there's this new legal concept called collaborative law, where both parties bring in a lawyer. So there's two lawyers. There's a therapist or a counselor for the entire family. There's a financial person, and we all sit down and come together with the best dynamic for the family. So typically, the way typically family lawyers make a lot of money by, all right, I filed this for you, and now this happened, but somebody broke the agreement, so now we have to file this. So that's going to be another charge. All right, somebody broke the agreement again, so I have to file this. That's going to be another charge. But with the collaborative law approach, because we put all that effort in the beginning of like coming up with the best outcome and the best agreement, everybody's happy.
Yeah.
So it's not like one party won over the other one. It's like both parties are getting what they want. Both parties are keeping their eye on their main goal and what matters to them. Because you just have to be really tactful in those situations, because those are great people. They're just going through a terrible point in their life. And a lot of people going through divorces will say, my main priority is the kids. That's pretty much what everybody says.
Yeah.
But they get so caught up emotionally in the you hurt me or you lied or you cheated, to where the kids can then be used as a tool to like go back and forth between the two, or like to get something that you want, whatever it may be. So I really want to take the collaborative law approach, where a lot of people are coming together in the beginning, coming up with the best outcome, so that way no one has to break the agreement and everything runs fairly smoothly. But it's life. People are people. That's not going to happen. But the more effort you can put into it in the beginning, hopefully the better the end result is.
Yeah. So in law school, obviously, I'm sure you're getting like a big overview of a bunch of different types of law, but I guess maybe towards the end, are you able to like pick and choose classes to where you would be able to choose more family specific type stuff?
Yes, you are able to pick and choose classes, but it's still fairly general.
Gotcha.
You can kind of know. So this past semester I took this class called Advanced Domestic Relations, and that's domestic relations is family law. And I got to be partnered with a family lawyer in Birmingham and shadow him. For spring break, because I was in town, I got approved by the professor to shadow some family lawyers out of Monroe, Cummings and Fitz. They were really great. They do amazing work, and they're fairly new too. They're doing a lot of the work that I want to do. So yeah, you're able to pick a couple of classes, but it's also like you still have to get something like 15, 18 hours a semester. So like I still have a whole year left, and I've already taken all the family law classes that I can take.
Gotcha.
So like now I'm just taking these classes to take these classes. Now I am trying to like prepare myself, so I am taking like a bar prep class. I am taking like a class called Solo Practitioner, where like they're supposed to teach you the management and like business side. So I am trying to like take some classes that I'm interested in, but it's also fairly general.
So are you at UAB?
No, I'm at Samford University.
Okay.
It's
I know
some suburb,
some people that have graduated
Birmingham.
from there.
They're the Bulldogs too, red and blue.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, Samford's not a historically black college.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's far from it.
Really?
I think the first black student came to Samford, and I want to say like 1965. Like it was fairly like recent.
Yeah.
And it was a girl in the law school. And yeah, it is Cumberland School of Law is trying to work on its diversity to a certain extent. I'm actually the student liaison for diversity and inclusion, but not the most diverse student body at all. And you would think for it to be in Birmingham, Alabama, and
Right.
Birmingham being like synonymous with the civil rights movement, that it would be kind of like the opposite,
Yeah.
or at least that there will be some type of like social justice aspect or like social justice curriculum in the law school. But I definitely think that Samford is also private and Baptist, I want to say. So I think the law school as
that would make sense due to the people that I know that graduated from there.
Yeah.
They would probably go to a Baptist school.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of layers that you have to jump through to get things done there, per se.
So I know you were like heavily involved on campus at Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Are you as well at Samford?
Yeah, man. Going into my senior year is the first year where I'm not going to be involved in really anything in my entire kind of like school career, because I was even super involved in high school. Like high school, I was senior class president, battalion commander, captain for all those teams, like did every club, did a lot at Tech. And then at Samford, like my first year, I was a student bar association representative for my entire section, so I had to corral like 75 people and like let them know what the what was for stuff.
Yeah.
And then my second year, I was the president of the Black Law Students Association. My bad. I've been in too many black organizations. They're all running together.
That's positive though.
And then I got the job.
I mean, how many people are in that group?
So I want to say this past year we had around 45, but they all weren't all. Our entire member body isn't all black.
Okay.
Which is a great thing.
Right.
But I would say for the entire school there is probably about 35 black people total. But that
out of
probably like 300.
Okay.
Because
so the class isn't.
I want to say each law class is like 150.
Okay.
And there's 3 years of law school, so you're looking at like 350 people, 450 people, and probably total, 30, 40 across.
So you recognize pretty much everybody, I would imagine.
Yeah.
It seems like
Oh, yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
That is smaller than my high school graduation
Yeah.
class. Like I always have to put it in those terms because.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I went to West Monroe and graduated with 500 people.
West Money.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, you recognize everybody, everybody. My first year of law school, they only had 2 sections. So it was 75 people in one, 75 people in one. And law school is set up to where your first year, everyone takes the same classes. So you're in class all day, every day with the same 75 people. And then you have to...
Imagine you learn some personalities and thoughts.
You want to know what's worse than an Alabama fan? An Alabama graduate.
Okay.
And I'll leave that alone.
Okay.
And yeah, you're in class all day, every day, and then you only have finals. So final weeks rolls around and everybody's just stressed.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows what's going on.
So are you able to maintain a job through law school?
They say you shouldn't. They say no, but like I have bills to pay.
Yeah.
So I have my first year. I did this thing called Shipped. It actually started in Birmingham. You go grocery shopping for people. So that was really convenient because I could schedule my own time. And it's not like Uber or anything. It's not like Uber Eats. Nobody's in my car. I don't really have to make sure that the food is hot or that, you have all your drinks and stuff. I'm like really just grocery shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And I would only do the grocery store around my house, which is a fairly nice area, fairly nice neighborhood. So you go, you spend an hour grocery shopping. Ship will probably pay you for that hour and a little bit more, but then you drop the groceries off and they're giving you like a $30 tip.
Yeah.
So it was really nice. And then my second year, that's when I started doing the student liaison job. So that was super great, kind of like super easy to be able to work on campus. Now people do have like legal jobs to where like they'll go to class, go work at a firm or something like that. But yeah, they typically say don't work your first year, and then typically nobody works while studying for the bar that summer. You kind of graduate, then go straight into bar prep.
Yeah.
And then hopefully pass the bar.
Right. So, and at that point, you pass the bar, you would join an already existing firm, right?
Yeah, in some aspects.
Because, like you say, you still got bills to pay. So.
Yeah. Or start your own. I don't know. We'll see how that goes or that ends up.
I'm about to say, I didn't know if that was like a financial hindrance thing or if like you could do it like just regardless. I didn't know if that was like rules against it. I didn't know if you had to like, have a fellowship kind of deal.
Yeah. No, I think I don't think there's any limitations. You just have to have the money to put up like the business side of it.
Yeah.
And typically you want to have a secretary to like get your stuff in order so that way you can use your brain power on other stuff. But nah, man. Yeah, I think you only have to have a fellowship or something if you don't take the bar. State's rules are kind of like weird on that, but I'm doing it the JD way, so.
Fair enough. All right, we'll totally switch topics here. I was not here for the rally, we'll call it, the Ruston Black Lives Matter rally. Please share your experience from that. Because I've talked to some other people. I have a white friend who's married to a black girl, and they have a child together, and he lives in Monroe. Well, shout out Derek Deutsch. I'll give him a shout out. Love that dude. Derek
Stay strong, man.
Derek cut my hair the other day, and we were talking about the Monroe rally. There was a rally held in Monroe on a Sunday, and it was kind of a flop.
Really?
And he went with his family, and he said that the guy who was leading it, like, just wanted to preach. And he said that at some point the crowd was starting to get a little angry, and some people kind of walked off like they were going to go march. And the guy was like, "Hey, what are y'all doing? We're not marching today." And at that point, everybody turned around and walked off and started marching. But yeah, I haven't heard. I've seen pictures. You were a prominent photo that stood out from that, and so I was curious as to what your experience was.
I thought it was great. I think the two young ladies, I don't know their names off the top of my head, but the two young ladies who organized the tech rally, they might want to hop on down the road to Monroe because they might need it. But that rally was one of the most well-organized and well-ran things that I've ever seen on Louisiana Tech's campus or done in Ruston. And the support that the university gave those two ladies, the support that, the sheriff's department, that the police department, that the mayor and that the district attorney gave those two young ladies, I think was absolutely amazing. I think it was absolutely beautiful. And the turnout was great. Yeah. But I think that was very intentional. They planned it, and they planned it during people's lunch hours. They had a set route. They had a set plan. They opened with prayer. I'm pretty sure we ended with prayer. So their hearts were in the right place, and it definitely showed because it was an awesome, awesome moment to be a part of, especially in Ruston. And it was very interesting. I think overall it was a beautiful moment, and I appreciated it a lot. And I think that me personally, I had a lot of highs, but then also a couple of like, to people.
I was about to say, were y'all met with any opposition?
No, there was no opposition. I think there was like this one single lady holding a sign. It wasn't even a sign. It was like a computer paper. Yeah. You could tell that she like just ran out the office.
I was about to say she looked outside.
But like nobody could read what she said, so nobody paid her any mind. But I didn't see any opposition at all. It was really, really great. And businesses in downtown Ruston were handing out water. I don't know if they were like afraid of rioting and looting, but like the protest, the rally was held at like literally lunchtime at 12:01. So like I know I was back home at 2, you know, so ain't nobody rioting and looting in Ruston.
I was about to say I was not afraid of that to begin with.
Oh, I've been eyeing this shirt at Patton's downtown.
Well, and, you know, I think part of that is obviously large populations, large metropolitan cities. A lot of that stuff was happening in.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those places were significantly more locked down than places like Ruston were.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, the rioting was a culmination of things. I believe. I think it was people are fed up with racial injustice. People are also really cooped up in their houses for a long time and had a lot of pent up energy.
Oh yeah. And you got to have the right intentions. You know, if you're showing up to protests in March, and you know, show up to protests in March and then like go home.
Yeah.
You know,
I also think it's one thing to like loot a large corporation, like Target, for example. And I think a lot of people have a lot more respect for the local businesses around here.
Definitely.
Because they're a lot more connected to the community.
Oh yeah.
And I think that goes a long way.
Yeah. And I definitely, it's like, I can definitely see the mob mentality and like how everything can shift in a split instant.
Yes.
Because I remember the moment when I felt it, because I was pretty close up to the front of the line. And we marched from Tech's campus through downtown all the way to City Hall. So I was one of the first people who like got to City Hall, and I got to see the line of people like coming in, and like to feel all the energy from the bodies that are here, and then to see all the bodies that were coming, and then everyone's like chanting like Black Lives Matter. You're like, you can like feel just like the energy build up. So I definitely think it's important to like just always have the right heart, always to remember why you're there and the purpose of what you're doing. Because the last thing I ever want to do when I'm showing up to a rally or a protest is to like take away from that, you know. It's one thing to have, you know, a single off violent circumstance, but it's a whole nother thing to like go out and just like really riot and loot, like. And some sides justify it, but it's like that's not how I feel like I should protest, and that's not how I want to get the message across of diversity, inclusion, equality, Black Lives Mattering, ending police brutality. I don't believe me burning down your business or throwing a brick or anything like that. I don't think that helps my cause. That's for me. Other people can be as mad and as fed up, and they can feel justified, and that's their stuff. But for me, I'm going to be peaceful. I'm going to write a controversial message on a sign, and I'm going to smile and wave and chant and just keep it pushing.
Yeah. To kind of jump back to what you were talking about there in the beginning, like I heard a phrase that it's easy to jump on the chaos train, especially whenever people are poor and haven't been able to work in a long time, and like you say, you're in that mentality, you're getting that energy from everybody else, and then it's like, all right, we're taking Target, and it's like, oh hell yeah, we're taking Target, let's go. Like,
let me be a single father of 3, and I didn't have a job for all of quarantine. Like, people breaking into Target, I might have to run in there and get some stuff. Yeah.
And I think Target recognized that because of their statement that they came out with. I think the only time that I was like genuinely frustrated with the rioting and the looting, I think it was a van store. Like, white dudes with long hair were stealing surfboards. Like, screw you guys. Yeah. Like, and there was one guy who like blocks away.
Yeah.
This dude just puts his camera in his face like, what's your name, bro? Where do you surf?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody take a good look at this board. Like, you see this asshole out in the water, you make sure to cut him off every chance you get. Yeah. Like, it's just, it's so dumb
Yeah.
for people to do stuff like that.
It's
you know?
one thing getting what you need,
Yeah.
Another thing out here snatching TVs.
Yeah.
and-
It's, similar to Katrina,
Yeah.
if I don't think anybody was going to fight anybody that was walking out of there with arms full of toilet paper.
Mhm.
It was the people, like you say, that had the TVs and the Xboxes and all that kind of stuff that people really start to get angry with.
Dude, the Target video was wild because I was like, y'all have baskets.
Yeah.
y'all are like the fire alarms are going
I
off,
was about to
sprinkler
say.
systems going off. People are losing their minds,
Yeah.
breaking stuff, and you're just over here like, wow, these curtains are just so nice.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
There was one white dude with like a Lego box
Yeah.
that came out of there. And then what was really like surreal was some of the later videos that came out where all those sprinklers are going off,
mhm.
and it was like super like apocalyptic looking,
Yeah.
and you just hear whack, 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 and it pans over, and it's these two black guys just trying to chop into these like cash registers,
Yeah, yeah.
ATMs or something, and I was like, that would be pretty scary to walk up
Exactly.
upon, but
I would be like, I need to get out of this Target.
yeah. So I was in Denver, which I think the Ruston rally happened on Friday or Saturday.
I think it was I think it might have been a Friday.
Yeah,
I think
and
it was definitely was a work day.
so I was in downtown Denver that Sunday
Mhm.
afterwards, and Saturday night a ton of looting had happened in downtown Denver, and so Sunday I had the opportunity to get down there,
Mhm.
and I was like, I'm gonna take advantage of this.
Mhm.
So me and one of my buddies went, and we kind of got lost along the route, ran into all kinds of very heavily armed SWAT officers. Like, there's a big pedestrian bridge.
Mhm.
I forget what street it's actually on, but it connects downtown to, like, you walk into a park.
Mhm.
And you have to climb stairs or take the elevator to get onto the top of the bridge. And it's probably 2 or 3 stories worth of stairs.
Mhm.
So there's no police presence at the bottom. You climb up the stairs, and you are immediately greeted by 6 officers in full SWAT uniform. And they're like forcing you to walk to the outside because they have people along the outside too.
Yeah.
And I looked at one of them and I was like, hey man, like, are y'all blocking traffic? And he was like, we're not allowing people back into downtown. And I was like, okay, all right. I was like, well, we need to get back that way, so we're going to have to find a different way to get back. And we did. And we ended up on 13th Street. And we're walking down 13th Street towards the Capitol building. And I heard something.
Mhm.
And I turned around, and there was a mob of people
Wow.
walking in our direction. And that, I think we had a similar feeling of that energy
Mhm.
when you get in that. And we walked along with them, and it was a very powerful thing, you know, especially coming from a place like Ruston, West Monroe. Like, I've never experienced that, never seen that many people
Mhm.
walking down the street, you know, Mardi Gras maybe, but like that's a whole different vibe.
Whole other vibe.
So, you know, that made me start to like, hey, I need to listen. I need to figure
Mhm.
out what everybody's really mad about here, and I've trying to do that, I guess.
Yeah. And I think it's awesome, and I think that taking actions and steps each day, just putting yourself out there, being vulnerable enough to admit that is amazing. And then to also, it's a little bit, it's hard. It's hard for Black people right now.
Yeah.
'Cause it's a lot of conflictions. So it's like when I'm marching in the protests in downtown Ruston, and I'm looking at people who have done racially insensitive to racist things to me personally or to people I'm around, it's conflicting to march beside them.
Yeah.
Because it's like, is there a change of heart? Has your heart changed? Are your eyes open now? are you just here to be here? Are you just here to post this on your story? Are you just here to, you know, put a black screen up and Blackout Tuesday? You know, it's got to be more action. Like, don't just show up to the protest and leave everything at the protest. Don't just post a black picture and leave everything at the black picture. Be working every single day and have very tough, very real conversations with people who are close to you, who are not like you.
Well, I'm going to try to ask this question as neutral as possible, because that's where it is in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that the rally happened in Ruston do you think it was like a bring people together type of thing? Do you think it was, trying to raise awareness to local authorities that, hey, we need change here?
Mm-hmm.
I guess what was the goal? What do you think the goal was? Because we're not New Orleans, we're not Baton Rouge, we are Little Ruston.
I think the goal was to bring people together.
Yeah.
And I think the goal was to get people close enough in order to have those conversations.
Yeah.
Now, were those conversations had? I don't know.
Yeah.
I would like to think I know that I had good conversations there.
Okay.
And I know that from that point on, I've had good conversations with other people. But I just hope I think the main goal was to bring people together, which happened. And hopefully the conversations from that are still happening.
Yeah. Hopefully this conversation keeps happening where people are like,
yeah,
hey, were you at the rally? What did you think about it? You know, that
absolutely.
Yeah. I'm with you there. It could definitely be used as a conversation starter, and obviously there's a lot of old money in Ruston.
Mm-hmm.
There's a terrible joke that's been told in the past couple months that due to COVID, a lot of racists have died, which I do kind of smile over. But somebody brought that up, and I was like,
"Oh my
god, that's messed up."
That is awful.
Probably not completely false either.
That is awful.
It's something that I've struggled with my own family,
mm-hmm.
But you know, I'll tell you this: like, my parents are pretty old school,
mm-hmm.
but because they love me.
Mm-hmm.
And they listen to what I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have started to open some eyes.
Yeah.
And obviously that's why we're doing this. Like, I want to continue the conversation as we keep saying. Because that's what we have to have these.
Oh, yeah.
Let me pause before I speak, these hard conversations, because that's the only way we're going to grow with
that's
anything.
The only way we're going to get better at them.
Yeah.
And until every black person or brown person, colored person of color has multiple friends that are cops, and until every single cop has multiple friends that are black, brown, people of color, until that happens, I feel like we will still kind of have this problem. Because the system is just made and set up for the problem of police brutality to happen and to continue and to be allowed.
Do you have any ideas for law enforcement? Do you think that these injustices that have happened, do you think that they're because of lack of training? Do you think it's because of emotional stuff? Like, obviously there's like a bazillion different factors that go into it, but I watched the video of the young man that died in Atlanta.
I didn't.
It really made me like question things, because there was a fight between him and the cops. I personally I think it's fucked up to shoot someone in the back if they're running away, regardless of what happened, but it's there is this like fight the man resistance part of me that's like, yeah, like fight for your rights, because I listened to the DA and the way that he gave the charges, and some of that stuff I don't necessarily agree with, but when it came down to it, in the moment, from what I witnessed on the video, the cop just said, "Turn around, I'm putting handcuffs on you."
Mm-hmm.
You know, he didn't announce that he was arresting. He didn't read him his rights. Like, none of that stuff happened. And was he in the wrong for passing out in Wendy's? Was he in the wrong for being intoxicated? Allegedly, probably so. But, like, he still shouldn't have died over it.
Yeah. And when does being guilty, it's not the police's job. Even if someone is guilty, it is not the police's job to execute them.
Yeah.
It is not the police's job to kill them.
Right.
And I believe that there are great law enforcement officers. There are people who are passionate. I have tons of friends in law enforcement positions. And I just tell them, just remember why you're doing this. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe in this climate with everything that's going on, you got to check yourself. You got to wake up every day and say, I'm strong. I'm a good cop. I'm a good person. And you got to set out. You are 50% responsible for any interaction you have in general.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what cop, non-cop, whoever, you yourself are 50% responsible, at least, for every interaction you have with somebody.
For sure.
That's every friendship, every relationship, every falling out, every breakup, every argument, every coming back together. You are 50% responsible. So if you say, I want to remain a good cop, keep that. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Keep that, abide by that, push that. But like also with every action, am I being a good cop? Am I being a good cop? And it's the same thing with being a lawyer. Am I being a good lawyer? Am I being moral? Am I being upstanding? You know?
Yeah.
Because it's you, with everything that's going on, we just shouldn't be, the first instinct should not be, let's reach for the gun. You know?
So this is where my idea comes in, and it's not a new idea. It's slowly being promoted more and more, I believe. Have you ever done jiu-jitsu or anything like that?
I haven't, but I want to.
I think you would be great at it, for one, because
I got that John Jones build.
I was about to say, you're long and lanky, and I know you can build some strength. But if you are comfortable with someone laying their hands on you and knowing that you have the skills to put them on the ground if you need to, I think that goes a long way. I think that builds confidence within you, regardless of whether you're a cop or a 100-pound girl, I should say. I really think that is a huge key to that. Unfortunately, it seems that our political system is shutting that down right now because they're outlawing chokeholds and stuff like that, which, again, that's a controversial subject, but I think that chokeholds done in the proper way can really go a long way. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on the jiu-jitsu training, and I just think more training in general.
Yeah.
You know, lawyers have continuing education. I apologize if cops do have some type of continuing education or continuing training. I'm not aware of it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. But just training in all aspects, you know, de-escalation, you know, conflict resolution, you know, just the whole 9 yards. I understand that police officers are asked to be a lot for the community, and they're asked to do a lot for the community.
No doubt.
But how many times have you seen them chilling at U-Packet? You know, so we all have room to grow. I know me as a black man, for the longest, I've always put my best foot forward with police, and that is hard to do because I didn't get any training for that.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like
See, that's an interesting point that I bring up with some of my family members, and they're like, you know, if he wouldn't have fought, if he wouldn't have done this, he wouldn't have done that, like, he wouldn't have died, like, he you know, blah, all this stuff. And I'm like, we as white males can't put we can't put ourselves in those shoes. Like, also, like, again, like, I was raised to respect the officer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, mom that's telling her son to go sell drugs probably is telling him fuck the police whenever he walks out at the same time, you know? So, you know, if you have that mentality growing up, I could see how it would be easier to fight and resist.
And then it's also, you were raised to respect them. I was raised to respect them out of fear.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, and that's the biggest thing, because I was sitting in church one Sunday, and the pastor made some like passive joke. He meant well, but he made a very passive joke about like, you know, the police pulling up behind you, the lights going off, and then they drive past you, and you go, and you like laugh it off. And I was sitting next to one of my black friends, and like we both looked at each other, and I'm like, I've never just laughed off like the police pulling up behind me, you know. And the pastor meant it very, very well, and like we didn't take it offensively, but it was also like a cultural gap of like, yeah, no, like that's super serious for me. Like that's like the police pulling up behind me is like not a chill time. That's what he said. He had said the police pulls up behind you, pulls you over, and then they recognize you. Because you're the pastor of the church.
Right.
And, you know, everybody laughed, and I was like, yo, like, you know, I wish, you know, like, so it's just is different. And I think that's what it is. A lot of, we're not trained for that. We're just told, like, by our parents or by whoever, you know, this is what you should do, this is what you can do. And then all we see on the news or on our timeline, black bodies getting killed by police officers, no knock warrants getting issued, people getting killed in their house. In their house. You know, so we get no training at all on dealing with you guys. So however much training you guys have shouldn't allow or justify you drawing your gun first thing. Come on, y'all. We got tasers, we got dogs, we got batons. And if you're that fearful of your life in every single situation and every single step of the way, you might need to look at another profession, homie. You know, because the soldier that goes to Iraq or Afghanistan and completely goes berserk, he doesn't get away with that. You know? They're held to a very high standard, too.
That was another interesting thing about the Minnesota. Like, the guy who killed George Floyd had killed people before and had multiple complaints filed against him, and there he is still on the force. Like, I think that's inexcusable. Like, regardless of where it is, what happened, like, that's just makes me sick to like really think about that. Like, this person who clearly multiple people have gone out of their way to file a complaint against, and like he's still there. Like it was no big deal. Probably got a slap on the wrist.
It's I think police culture's got to change. And I feel like police culture will change when both sides are just more accepting of each other. You get what I'm saying? Like we got to have like more commingling between the police and the community on just common stuff, you know? Only time, like, we joked about the police sitting at UPacket, but like, it would be cool if they didn't like sit inside of their cars or whatever.
I was just thinking that, like, if they literally just said, "Hey, what's going on? Like, how are y'all tonight?" Like, I was just thinking about that, like, you know, football games, whatever. Like, you just see those guys just standing there, serious, with their arms crossed. You know, if they were maybe a little more friendly, that would maybe change some opinion. And
I've working at CrossFit Ruston, I've gotten to, you know, train and be around several police officers they're great people. They mean so well. All they really want to do is help.
Yeah.
But I do think, once they put that uniform on, once they put the badge on, I think a little bit of the police culture says like you always have to like watch your back, or you always have to be prepared, or you always have to make the first move, or you always have to do something.
Yeah.
When really they should be able to be comfortable enough to like do their job relaxfully per se. And as a community, we should be comfortable enough to allow them to do that. There's always going to be crime. There's always going to be people doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and police officers play a very intricate role in the safety of the community. And their safety is very, very important, but we just got to stop. Like, people got to stop dying because of the police.
Especially I think there was someone else killed just a couple days after George Floyd. And it was
days ago.
The country is clearly up in arms about this. Like, you would think,
and it's still happening.
Yeah, you would think as a cop, like, if I drew on someone right now, I'd probably have to really second guess it.
Yeah.
Especially with people losing their jobs and all this kind of stuff.
And I think it turns up the intensity level of it even more. So I'm not sure what it looks like, and I'm trying to do a lot more research on the defunding of the police, that type of aspect and that type of train. I think I'm a little bit more for like redistributing where they put their money towards, and the different trainings and maybe different programs, the different things they can do inside of the community to bring everybody together.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm I can definitely see that working a lot better, a lot more, but there's so many logistical things. But something has got to change, man. Like, we can't. America is one of the only countries that has this problem. Like, it's been really cool seeing people share statistics of like other countries like Finland, Norway, places like that where police haven't killed people in years, or maybe
what's really cool to me is like the whole world is up in arms about this issue right now. Like, if you cannot view the English Premier League right now without seeing a Black Lives Matter shirt or something along those lines, and that really spoke to me. Like, there are literal rallies around the world. And Australia, maybe not China, but Australia, Spain, England. I know I saw at least those three countries where just massive amounts of people were getting together and for this movement, just screaming George Floyd's name. Like, that's incredible. Regardless of your opinion of George Floyd, he wrongfully died. And that's a fact. And
I'm George Floyd, because like me, that I'm not like I'm 6'5", 215. Like, my stature's pretty big. Right. I can come off pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
But like, if you talk to me for 5 seconds, that's not the case.
Yeah.
But I know that some people, they don't even have to be cops. I know that some people just look at me and immediately put me in a box and immediately think they have to handle me this way or be so aggressive or so whatever. And it's like, it's not the case.
Have you had any experiences with cops that you'd be willing to share?
Nothing that's been like crazy or completely out of control or anything that was like life threatening. I tend to keep my distance. I tend to be very precautious, but that can change at any moment. A lot of the racism that I've dealt with has probably been way more systematic. Like, so I definitely faced it at my high school, in different organizations at Louisiana Tech. Definitely faced it, and that's across the board within.
Can you get a little more specific about that?
Yeah, so I would say how things play out sometimes at Louisiana Tech do make me to believe that there's like a very racist rhetoric or racist sentiment. I mean, let's look at the homecoming courts for all of Louisiana Tech's history. And, you know, it's typically like one person of color, you know, here or there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if Louisiana Tech has ever had an African American homecoming king or homecoming queen.
Right.
And if we have, I would love to know who they are. Not sure about African American SGA president, you know?
Yeah.
And if there is one or there has been, I would love to know who they are. Like, totally correct me, but you know, I just can't think of it.
Yeah.
Like, and also keep in mind, like I was the only person from my freshman year who was on SGA all 3 years into my senior year.
Did you pursue those positions?
I didn't, because I just knew the culture that was built in SGA, and like also as a political science major, I know how things are supposed to be ran.
Yeah.
But I definitely think a lot of things happen with the transition in high school and college organizations, where like racism can kind of continue because there's so much turnover, and people forget that a lot of these positions, you're just a placeholder. Like, you're going to be doing the same events. They're going to be doing the same events the same way next year.
Yeah, as far as SGA or
yeah, like you're doing the same exact stuff.
You're definitely a placeholder
Next year. So yeah, it's just really interesting.
I guess my mind, whenever you say that you didn't pursue those positions, like my mind goes to like, I mean, you'd already broken some stereotypes within PIKE, like, but I guess at the same time that was kind of an opportunity that was presented to you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do you think that had? I mean, that's all like a mental thing, you know. Like it all has to do with confidence and all those other things. But
I definitely think that Greek life has politics as well.
Oh,
you know, because everyone on the homecoming court typically is involved in IFC or Panhellenic Greek life.
Yeah.
You know, typically, normally, and if they're not, they're very fond, you know, of Greek life. You know, they're going to a lot of the sorority parties, or they're going to a lot of the fraternity date parties, whatever it may be. So Greek life has a pull in that as well. And I think that there's some people, you know, that I could win over in certain aspects of Greek life, and just like if you're willing to talk to me, I think that I can win you over.
Yeah.
But you know that there's some people in Louisiana Tech Greek life throughout several fraternities
you could
who
say,
are not
hey,
willing.
and they would turn around and walk away from you.
Like, there's certain houses that African American kids go to at Rush, and they're not spoken to.
Yeah.
So then imagine me when I just went to your house for Rush and you didn't say 2 words to me, and then we're on SGA and I'm supposed to act like everything is fine. Yeah. Or now we're orientation student leaders together, but nobody wants to talk about racism. You know? It's
I was about to, that was kind of a question that I was going to ask you, is about OSL, because I've although I was never in OSL, I was always very close to at least a couple people in OSL, and I always knew that was a very tight-knit group of people.
Exactly.
So did you ever try to, you know, change the culture, I guess, like you had at PIKE to
OSL, you're not really presented with the same opportunity to change the culture per se, because everything it's a job, you know? At the end of the day, it's a job.
And I feel like most everybody there is of most positive mindset that they can be most of the times, I guess. And obviously you have to, like, whether you mean it or not, you have to put on a nice face to thousands of kids throughout the summer.
Yeah, whether you like the people or not.
But like you said, I guess at lunch, like, you know, if some asshole threw out the N-word in the Pike House, like you could go up there and say,
I could handle it completely differently,
right? Because it's
than
totally
someone
different.
saying it during then. And mind you, no orientation sooner I ever said it around me, to me, whatever. But totally different between, like, I can't handle the situation in the Pike House the same as the OSL.
Right.
Can't handle those situations the same as a student saying it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know?
I mean, that's
and
like a really, like, you have to like turn and walk away type of deal.
Oh yeah. And those and there's the complexity of all three of those interactions. You get what I'm saying? That like you have to balance.
Yeah, none of them are right, but they're like you have to address them all differently.
And then still wake up the next day and put on the name tag and the attire and suit and smile and keep it moving. You know, it's like,
yeah, when you put it in those terms, that I can see how that would stick with you. It would weigh on you.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know, like you say, you overhear a student say that during orientation, whether they direct it to you or not. Like, you know, the next day you see that kid, like you know what he looks like.
Like, you know, like you still it's crazy what's expected. Yeah. You know, and what's not even expected, what's demanded. You know, what's demanded. Period of black student campus leaders. Yeah. You know, because there's an entire layer that I feel like is just now starting to get talked about. Of racism, of prejudice, of different things. You know, I've given some tours to people who, you know, had a Confederate flag phone background and like did not interact with me well at all. You know, like just were not feeling me, were not there for me, you know, no matter how hard you try. And it's just interesting dynamics. And, you know, it would be very interesting to show up to give a tour and I'm always placed with like the black family, you know? Granted, on one circumstance, that probably does make them more comfortable. I am more comfortable with them per se.
Right.
But also, why are we not working towards a culture where anybody can give a tour to anybody? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, like it's like at the same time, why are we not challenging that?
Yeah, it's not necessarily a huge problem, but it's like this is something that we can fix, and this is something that we can work towards, and it's something that we can do. And then everybody uses the excuse of like, oh, we don't have, you know, we don't have a lot of black people in this org because, you know, they just don't try. They don't feel welcomed. Yeah. And they don't feel welcomed because you don't want to welcome them.
I was about to say, I guess that kind of would play into the mindset as why you didn't go for SGA president and that kind of deal. You know, kind of goes back to the story I was telling the other day about the black kid who did come through Rush and was at Sigma Nu, and you know, I think he looked around and saw that he would have been the only black guy in Sigma Nu, and so he went elsewhere. And more power to him. I mean, if I was in that position and felt that I wasn't completely welcome, I probably would have done the same thing.
Exactly. And then you also have to understand that you'll never be completely equal either. Because I definitely think that there's some people in Pike who don't view me or don't treat me the same.
That's got to like fuel your fire though, huh?
It does, but I already like, you already know who your real friends are. You know, you already know who your boys are. You know, you already got your boys. Yeah. So outside of that, you're like, oh, I really don't care. Like, you know? Yeah. But, and there's certain situations where people introduce me to their parents or whatever. Yeah. And I'm just TJ. Right. You know? And it's like, not to say you gotta, you know, like shine me up and this, that, and the other, but like, I thought that I was more than just TJ to you, you know, like, oh, this is TJ, like my good friend, my pal, whatever it may be, or I did this with him or I did that with him. It's just like, oh, this is just TJ. Moving on. It's like, well, that was dismissive. Yeah. Or like, I can't tell you how many times, like, I've been in a group of people talking and somebody of any type of importance or status has come up and addressed everyone else in the group and not even addressed me, not even looked at me, you know, maybe has given everybody else in the group a handshake or something, and then has just completely glazed over me, you know?
Yeah.
And it's wild and it's interesting because it's like in that moment you kind of have to choose. You got to choose your battle. You got to choose, like, is this something worth fighting for? Is this something worth pushing? And that's
it's like my mind. Whenever you tell that story about getting kind of passed over, like, you know, I'm trying to relate to that, and so my initial thought is like, yeah, whenever I was little, or you know, I was like always the short kid, and like I would get passed over in that manner, but like that's not even comparable to what you're talking about. Like, you know, that's just. I'm just thinking out loud right now.
But no, I guess it's a great starting point to comparison. It's a great starting point for you to relate because it's like, that's not a good feeling.
Yeah, yeah. That's where my mind was at. It was like,
because then you're like, do I even want to be here?
Yeah.
Like, do I even want this? You know? You know, and it's one thing that I also had to grow out of, was like being okay with being the token black person. Growing up in the military, I was privileged enough to always be around different diversities, different people, different religions. My middle school yearbook compared to my high school yearbook, completely different. Like my middle school yearbook, you see every single color of the rainbow. And then my high school yearbook is like, what? People are really hailing Hitler in color in 2014.
Yikes.
And the Leesville High School yearbook. Like
I say that. I mean, so the Confederate flag was banned from West Monroe High School.
Yeah.
In like 2003 or something like that. But it was just kind of something that I think was done to appease some people, but it was not until 2013, 2014, it was after I graduated, that it was like, if this is on campus, we're taking it down. Like, because I don't know if you know the traditions of West Monroe, but people would just fly flags, fly Confederate flags, fly American flags, West Monroe flags, whatever it was, but it was always traditionally Confederate flags. I mean, hell, there's a fucking Rebel store in West Monroe, Louisiana, where they sell Confederate flag pants.
Yeah.
So before you came to Tech, there was a fraternity on campus whose group text message basically hit CNN because they had made one guy made a comment about the grades that had coming out, and their fraternity was at the very bottom, just above the 2-3 black fraternities that we have on campus. And he made the comment, at least we're better than you can put your own word in there. But of course, this was all done on Facebook Messenger, and this guy accidentally posted it onto his wall or something.
Wow.
One of his black followers immediately screenshotted it. And
wow.
Yeah. So there was Sam Speed was the IFC advisor at the time, I guess. So he called together all like 2 members of every fraternity and basically just made us all sit in a room. And he was like, all right, we're going to talk about this. Like, we're going to have open discussion. And just sat down.
Yeah.
And so the room was quiet.
Yeah.
Real quiet. And I saw an opportunity. So I stood up and said, hey, my name's Dan. I'm from West Monroe, Louisiana. I don't know if you know a lot about West Monroe, Louisiana, but our high school mascot is the Rebels, and people tend to fly Confederate flags around that place.
Yeah. I
myself flew a Confederate flag from my truck at one point in time. It happened one day, and it clearly was enough to stick out in my brain. It was a school pride thing at the time, and I've had conversations with black people that I went to high school with who agreed upon the same notion that it, you know, at the time it was a school pride thing, and nobody really looked beyond it. Yeah. At least in high school. Yeah. Which there's also the phrase black privilege that has been thrown around a little bit as well. And I think that's a different story for another day, but I think that some people would put like black athletes that go to West Monroe High School into a privileged black category because of the things that they are given in school and outside of school. And maybe that has something to do with their mindset on that. So, but what I was getting at was that, like, do it. Basically, like, I recognized that what I had done was wrong, and that, you know, I'm no longer that person, and I no longer want to represent that, and so that was the way that I got the ball rolling, I guess. So, well, that's the end of my story.
Whatchamacallit, I think it's great that you see that and that you recognize that, because that is a story all in itself, like how you develop the layer, or like how you pull back the layers of that to like go deeper and change your outlook, which is great and awesome. Whatchamacallit, I think one thing needs to be said for like one thing has to be said for how long and how normalized that Confederate flag, Confederate symbols have been in this country. Yeah. That, like, we should have fixed that problem a while ago. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, like the Confederate War only lasted 5 years. That whenever I found out about that, like earlier this week, that absolutely blew my mind. Yeah. That, like, those traditions have lasted, you know, the obviously it's, you know, it's only probably a couple generations, I guess, away, but it's still, like, I can't believe that such a short war has still lingered on with so many people that still support those ideas.
And it's so sad. And hopefully people start breaking the mold and breaking out of that. One thing that I wanted to bring up, you mentioned, like, the black privilege of, like, student athletes. So I have this whole mind theory that may sound crazy, but, like, to me there are so many notions of slavery within that complex of, like, supporting the black student athlete. Yes. Because me personally, when people see me, they go, "Where do you play basketball? You know, do you play basketball?" And as soon as I say no, conversation's over. Yeah. They don't care that I'm in law school. They don't care about anything else. Conversation's over because they connect my worth to doing sports, to being physical, instead of being intellectual.
It's crazy because, like, that's the most like, obviously we can connect over, like, athletics and working out and stuff, but, like, that was the reason that I wanted to sit and talk with you, because you're pursuing law and, like, you're clearly wanting to fight for something, you know?
And so many people just, they immediately box you into an athlete or whatever it may be. And then also
people don't ask me if I'm a jockey. You know?
Yeah. Just like the notions of, like, you're automatically placed in this box. And then, you know, these NFL team owners who make entirely too much money.
Indeed.
You know, entirely too much money. And there's not a single black owner, you know? And how many players are black? Yeah. You know, and, like, when you think about how much money the players are making, like, how much money these owners are making is ridiculous. Let alone, like, the stadium owners or whatever it may be. And these are the people who are, like, in power and can influence change and can stand up and say something. But it's like they don't, because they want to keep that power. They want to keep that money. Yeah. And, like, they just want to benefit off of the black culture and not pour into it, you know?
For sure.
And then I just believe there's so many notions of slavery with, like, black people being good athletes. Like, because I feel like we were literally bred throughout slavery to become better specimens.
I definitely believe, like, you know, slaves were handpicked from Africa, the biggest, strongest kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like it had to be.
And I mean, like, I definitely feel like we were just getting treated like, not treated, but like I definitely feel like it became like a dog type situation where like, let me just mix this breed and this breed and like see what it comes. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, wow. Okay. I never
imagine
thought about
that
it that way,
aspect,
but yeah.
like of being somebody who's selling slaves and saying, look at this father and look at this mother. And like, I've got 3 Negro babies, you know?
Ooh. Man, I never even thought about it that sense, but that's, yeah.
Think about how practical that is and can be. So yeah, black privilege. What? I think that black people can be privileged, for sure. I am definitely privileged as a black person to have been able to move around, to get different experiences, to have gone to undergraduate school, to have gone to law school. But like, is there a black privilege? Is there black supremacy? No, Terry Crews. Like, there's not. 'Cause we're still trying to get basic human rights. We're still trying to get like basic needs, basic recognition per se. So we haven't evolved to the point to where that we have black privilege and black supremacy and all that.
That's
you
fair.
know? Like, and people will say, oh, well, you know, you just say the N-word and this and the other. It's like,
Jesus.
Homie.
If that's your argument, you just sit down.
Homie, like, it's not really that, it's not that fun to say. You know, it's not that great to say. You're really not missing out on anything.
If if one word is your argument, then you
at
got a
all.
lot more issues.
Have you seen the stuff about people trying to make Karen a racial slur? And I'm like, if someone's name cannot be a racial slur.
No, I don't think it can.
Whatchamacallit? Yeah, I mean, how many? So I have a couple questions for you. Like,
yeah, please.
How many? Why do you think it was never really a deal breaker for you to be in a fraternity that wouldn't allow black people?
Like why I didn't leave once I was in there?
Yeah.
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
I just thought of it.
I'm glad. No,
it's pretty complex and heavy. I'm sorry.
No. I'll say this. So it's just thinking about this. It's kind of plays into a lot of things in my life in that time period. So one of my passions before coming to college was videography. And I had just gotten that passion my senior year of high school.
Gotcha.
Whenever I came to college, all I wanted to do was hang out with my friends and go to the next party and drink the next beer, or, you know, on and on. Take the next road trip, whatever it was. And I lived in that bubble. I lived with those blinders on.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at what was going on in the world. I wasn't looking at politics, the economy. I didn't care. I literally went to class because that was always a rule that I had. Whether I paid attention or not, I was in the seat. And from there, I would walk to the Sigma Nu house and sit in the parking lot until the next fun thing came about.
Yeah.
And I didn't, like, well, on the other side of this wall is my graduation photos. Straight-faced, pissed, because I knew I couldn't be a kid anymore. Like, I had to go to work the next day. But, like, that is very much the mindset that I had all of college. Was just like, I was in my own little world, and there was the people that existed in it, and there was nobody else outside of that. I also think that the fraternities that I interacted with outside of Sigma Nu didn't have any black people in them. I mean, it also is like the black people that I interacted with, I couldn't sit here for an hour and 50 minutes at this point and have a conversation with.
Wow.
And that's due to their upbringing and their education level. A lot of that is older black people that grew up in Ruston. I'm specifically talking about like people that have worked for my father or
Mhm.
worked
Mhm.
within the construction industry.
Mhm.
And I definitely believe that, like, I don't know, it was kind of like what we were talking about the other day. Like, I don't, for lack of a better way to put it, like, you people like you get the white, like,
Mhm.
you're the you're not black,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah. Yeah.
like, which is racist to begin with.
Mhm.
But like, I don't know, I really appreciate you challenging me on that, because that really made me think. But like, it was almost like, well, this is a great thought. So here we go. So after college,
Yeah.
I still didn't get into videography.
Uh-huh.
I went to work at JPS Equipment Rental
Mhm.
and basically stayed in the construction industry to some degree.
Mhm.
The only black person that worked there was the yard hand,
Mm.
and he was a temporary guy. He wasn't there the
Wow.
whole time. The only other black guy that worked there was work release.
Wow.
Maybe there are probably a couple truck drivers, maybe a mechanic or something, but
Mhm.
nobody. I was working in the front office as a salesperson.
Yeah.
There was 5 stores, and there was no one of color on the front desk or in management.
Wow.
So from there, I moved to Denver, Colorado, and that was the first time that I lived outside of Louisiana, lived outside of this bubble of North Louisiana,
Mhm.
and I came back home 6 months later after I'd lost my job
Mhm.
with a totally different mindset.
Yeah.
Like, challenging my family not to use the N-word,
Mhm.
and like, I don't care if it means something different to you than it does to me.
Mhm.
I don't care if you grew up with your dad saying it. Like, I don't care.
Mhm.
We're way past that at this point. Like, and it was due to living in that city
Yeah.
that doesn't exist. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it does, but it's not nearly as prominent as it is here. And that was whenever I really started to look around and see, the world was a lot bigger than me. And
Yeah.
but I mean, still to this day, like, I don't know the last time that I had a meaningful conversation with a black man before Wednesday when we had lunch.
Wow.
I don't.
Wow.
And that's like that had me thinking whenever I was sitting here waiting on you
Mhm.
earlier. It was like I very much look forward to this, but like, who's the next? Like, I need another black friend. Like you were
Yeah.
talking about, like, you said that you realized that all your friends were black and white, so
Yeah.
maybe you need to venture outside of that.
Oh yeah.
And I think we can all just take baby steps, and
Oh yeah.
that's the next step that I need to take is
Yeah.
I need more friends of color.
And I definitely think that you hit the nail on the head with describing your experience, within the fraternity and with Ruston, with just like the blinders and the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like your world or whatever.
Yep.
And I think it's so easy in a place like North Louisiana to have that bubble and to have those blinders. Because I would say it's easy in the majority of probably like rural areas. Because I'm in law school with some people who've never been in class with black people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's crazy that you mentioned, the different places that you worked and there weren't any like black people really in there in prominent roles, because imagine having a prominent black manager early on in your career.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're desegregated, but we're still segregated,
I also think it has to do with like the clientele that we're serving. I'm thinking about JPS. Like,
Mhm.
if some old fucker, some old grouchy son of a bitch walks into JPS and sees a young black man, like, that's the first person that he sees,
Yeah.
he might not come back there.
Yeah.
I mean, and that is, again, the culture of North Louisiana to some
Mhm.
degree. I haven't ever thought of that in that manner until just now, but yeah, it almost seems like a business decision right now, like, which is messed up in its own right.
So I look at I look at a lot of places that I work. So railway, I worked at railway. I know 3 black people who've worked at railway. None of us worked there at the same time. We all worked there at different times. I think about my time of being an RA, and mind you, I got fired from being an RA. I got fired over spring break because my phone broke over spring break. They had some mandatory emergency meeting or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was in my, at this point, my family lived in Georgia. I was in Georgia visiting my family, and I was like, well, I got my phone fixed in Ruston because I broke it at formal. So I got it
Classic.
fixed. I got it fixed when I got back to Ruston. I was like, oh, it broke. I'm just going to get it fixed when I get into Ruston. So I get back into Ruston, and, everyone's blowing me up. Where you at? You missed this, that, and the other. They had already decided that I was fired when I missed the meeting.
Oh, wow.
So I showed up first day of spring quarter, finding out that I had no job, no place to live. And then the real kicker was like later on that day, I found out my grandfather passed away.
Oh, my gosh.
So that was a lot.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for, my OSL family for that point in time in my life because, dude, like that was such a tough day.
I was about to
and
say.
Like,
you're like, I don't have a place to live. I don't have a job.
Ridiculously tough. All I remember was like, I remember talking, because I was talking to an RA, Capri Collins, I think her last name is. I was talking to her about the situation, and we were sitting on those benches by Hale Hall, and I was like already heated.
Yeah.
I was already mad, and then I got the text from my dad that my granddad passed away, dude, and I just like started bawling my eyes out, and I just stopped talking to her, and I was just like, I need to go, and like I remember just walking, and I don't know where I was walking. All I know is that I saw like Keith Bailey and Peyton Magnum. I was on staff with them. They like just pulled up beside me, and they were like, hey, get in the car. And I just like get in the car, and I'm just like still crying.
Yeah.
So that was a tough day. But I say all that to say, like, there's not a lot of black RAs. And then the ones that were there, like, we slowly kind of got picked off. And, it's interesting seeing different dynamics of like black people in workspaces. And look at Ruston now. Like, one, there's not a lot of young people. And then like how many like young black professionals are like in Ruston?
Yeah.
Like but also how many young professionals are really in Ruston in general, So
I believe just recently a black man opened a barbershop downtown.
Really?
I just saw something on Facebook about it the other day. But again, it's like you say, it's still few and far between.
Yeah. And I remember the young lady, I forget her name, but she ran a consignment shop in downtown Ruston. I forget what it was called, but like, she's not here anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like I feel like people kind of come and they get phased out or pushed away, and it's pretty sad. But
yeah, what is still downtown is the board game store.
yo, haven't they expanded?
I think so.
Like, they're kicking. They're thriving.
I remember when that came up, I was like, there's no way it makes it 6 months. Still kicking.
That record store came and left in Ruston.
Number 5.
It was like, I think it was Dale Blues.
Oh, Dale Blues. Yeah, it's in the same building. Yeah, it's like a book and record store now.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I haven't really driven that way in a while. Do you have any more questions for me?
None that I can think of right now, man. I mean, I think that we just got to keep doing what we're doing, and I think that we just got to stay open and honest and coming from like just really good, loving places, and people will see the love in what we do.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you for like you using your platform and making this. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of business owners in Ruston, and it's just been a conversation, and it's been, well, I was really, there was this one time where I was trying to get some type of cultural conversation to happen at Railway around race. Philip LeBlanc, he had put this very
Man, I don't know that man, but I follow him on
awesome.
Facebook, and I absolutely love the dude. Like, I love
awesome.
what he's putting out there.
We're getting lunch later next week. He can probably be your next black friend.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
But awesome guy. Either him or his wife put this amazing post about just the struggles of being a black parent overall. And I was, I had a conversation with someone at Railway, and they told me to start talking to some people. I want you to plan this event. I want you to get it together. Boom, 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 boom. I go talk to Phil. I go talk to Sam Speed. I come up with a name. I come up with a theme. I bring, I was like, let's bring in community leaders. Let's bring in church leaders. I was like, we can do that one week, and then the next week we can bring in some black artists. We can bring in World Envision, but we can have these meeting places and have a conversation and build a community. Still have the emails. Send the email to them, nothing back. Shoot him a text about it, nothing back. See him next time. Yeah, I saw it. I'm just so busy. Nothing. Fast forward, I quit Railway a couple months later, and then they have a World Envision pop-up shop at Railway. And I'm like, so you didn't steal my idea. I'm not mad about that. I'm just mad that you only took part of it.
Yeah.
I'm mad that you only had... I'm not mad that World Envision is there having a pop-up shop at Railway. I'm mad that, it was supposed to be more than just that.
Yeah, it was more than that.
It was supposed to be a conversation.
Right.
So thank you for not just leaving our conversation Wednesday as a conversation that happened on Wednesday and actually putting it on your platform and putting some action behind it. Because I've talked to several people, and it's just their comfort level. Like, some people are comfortable talking about stuff behind closed doors. But then some people are comfortable doing things about it, and once we start doing things about it, that's when communities can really come together.
Yeah.
Because this is now everybody's trying to release a statement on Black Lives and do this and do that. Like you said, it's a business plan.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something I've been trying to do years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this all started 2 or 3 weeks ago, really with it was the whole blackout Instagram thing. And it was just like, I'm not going to participate in that. And if, people want to unfollow me or, not like me anymore because I don't do that, then that's perfectly fine. But at the same time, I was like, I'm not going to, I have to do something. Yeah. I have to do action. Like, I'm not going to post on Instagram. I'm going to do something about it, and we may post about it on Instagram after we do it, but we're going to get it done first. Like, we're going to try to make something happen. And, it's always that weird, nervous thing to ask somebody if they want to be on the podcast. Yeah. And, you didn't hesitate very long at all. So, and I don't even know that we had ever really met until Wednesday, but
we talked at Kendrick's thing.
That's right. You're right.
I have
you
a
brought
video
that up.
from it. And
right.
you just chilled in the back. And I'm like, what's up, dude?
Yeah. And again, that's Kendrick is a catalyst. He's a person that brings people together. I've never met someone with the energy that Kendrick has. Just the overwhelming positivity that just boils out of that man is on another level. I believe at some point in time, we were brothers or related somehow down the lines, because I feel like Kendrick is everything good in me. Yeah. And I'm just I'm Kendrick's evil twin. I'm Evil's twin brother. I love Kendrick, but I love the hard ass side of you too. So because I can relate to that a lot more. But no, and it's great, and I think imagine Kendrick coming back. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. And just the cultivation that can start happening around here. I believe that Ruston has potential to change the rest of North Louisiana. All we have to do is get
young people to stay here, but
Yeah.
we don't. We
That's
don't
tough,
want.
man.
It's hard.
It's tough.
It's hard. No.
And it's weird because, you know, you've talked about it, I've talked about it, like, there is love for Ruston. There is love for the community, but at the same time, like, it's just kind of, there's not a whole lot.
Yeah, you feel very limited.
Yeah,
you feel
very
very
limited.
like, I'm only going to be able to break this ceiling and break this barrier, but hopefully we can get past that. I do have an interesting question for you, a little bit more on the political side. I mentioned it Wednesday. I want to know your thoughts on, like, you know, we have an age limit that you have to be like a senator, you know, representative, mayor.
Yeah.
How do you feel about an age cap?
Age cap.
Age cap. Because, you know, to be president, you have to be over 35.
Right.
So I think we should take the average death expectancy. Let's just say 90 minus 35 years, 65. That create, you know,
Yeah.
the two candidates that we have now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that brings up a really good argument that, like, those people are out of touch with the youngest generation. And, you know, maybe that's a really, dude, I loved your idea of, let's not defund the police, let's defund politics.
Yeah.
I really do.
Too much money is made in politics, especially for them to turn around and make kids do unpaid internships.
Yeah.
Like for 8 years.
And dude, I don't know if it was photoshopped or what, but like at some point last week, like Trump's intern class came out, and it was like there was like maybe 1 or 2 brown people in it. There were 0 people of very dark color in it.
Yeah.
That shit made me sick. Like,
yeah,
to see the pinnacle of political internship have 0 opportunity for any minority. Like, which obviously I don't know how a black person would want to go work for Donald Trump.
But I know how. Candace Owens.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's 100% opportunity, but the people don't want to. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But somebody who says, you know what, if it's so easy, I could do tomorrow, I promise you, I could go to bed tonight and I say, you know what, I'm going to pursue a career in politics, but I'm going to be a Republican, I'm going to be conservative, and I'm going to ride that wave aggressively as a young black man. And I promise you, probably within my first month or two of like talking, speaking, whatever, doing whatever, I'll have a big following.
Oh yeah.
I'll have a big following.
You start shooting guns and running your mouth, and
I'm the exception. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And people will latch on to that exception to devalue everything else that entire populations of people are saying. How, like, Candace Owens has built her entire career off of just saying controversial, provocative things that then people can turn around and use against her own community, you know? And I don't know if she actually believes that stuff, but I do know that there's tons of people in politics who just say stuff so they can sell books to be on the bestseller list.
Yeah.
So they can have their own TV show.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying?
So they can have their own spinoff or whatever.
Politics is so ridiculous right now, and it's not about the facts. We glamorize everything, and we don't talk about anything of substance. Yeah. You know?
Well, I definitely think I'm with you on the age cap. I think that's a good idea because it forces those people to be a little more in tune with the current climate of the world. Yeah. I don't know. There's so many like political issues. Like, I think legalizing marijuana and like pulling people out of jail that have those petty selling crimes and stuff like that. Use that money to fund more for more school systems. That's not politics. Schools. Like, that's what I wanted to go to.
I mean, imagine Bourbon Street. Imagine a fourth of Bourbon Street being marijuana, being dispensaries.
Yeah.
Imagine the money and the that would come into that city that can then be put into those city schools.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Or programs to rehabilitate people who have been in
Exactly.
jail their whole lives.
Exactly. And yet
get people jobs.
jail rehabilitation is whoa.
Yeah.
Like we got to do something. Like, and I feel like we were talking about this at Wednesday, that like racism is an issue, but it also affects and is involved with like all these other points of society, you know, schools, healthcare, prison reform, education, the police. Like racism affects all these different things. So it's like we can't just look at racism and police brutality. We have to look at racism and education, racism and the economy. We've got to try to look at it in the whole scope of it all. So that way we're not just collaborative law. Like we're trying, you get what I'm saying? Like we're not just trying to fix one thing
right
while everything else is broken.
Yeah.
And we're trying to like do the best we can with every piece that we can possibly have.
No doubt.
And Ruston Ranch needs to go.
Think so?
I've never been a member.
Yeah.
But I've only heard things, and I think Ruston Ranch got to go. Like it's
you can't label it a hate group because of how diverse it truly is.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of hate that goes on there. A lot of ignorance, a lot of sarcasm that's taken as serious things. It's a twisted place if you allow yourself to get in it and get mixed up in it.
Oh yeah.
I would tell people to just stay away from it. It is best to do so. Keyboard warriors don't change things to much degree.
They don't. I think we talked about it on Wednesday. We keep,
Yeah.
but like too many people are putting their opinions forward and not their experiences forward.
Yeah.
So there's no conversation happening. It's just, I believe this.
Yeah.
You believe that. We disagree. Cool. Like, and it's not even cool. Like if there was a conversation, they could at least say, all right, cool, whatever, we disagree. But no, it's just like, you are a godless liberal and just craziness.
Like, so I'm kind of a brutal person. This is going to make me sound super brutal.
Mm-hmm.
But your age restriction on politics, like I almost want to take those people out of society. I think that goes back to my COVID comment earlier.
Yeah.
But
I mean, one could say that the reason why the government cracked down or the presidency cracked down on coronavirus was because the majority of the people who are going to be voting for him are at risk.
the majority of people that are sending him money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, do you think that a third-party candidate can ever win? Do you think a third-party candidate can ever have success?
Oh, my. If you asked me this before the last election, I would say no. But in this current climate, I don't know. 2020 has been a fever dream. I think now more than ever, a third-party candidate has the chance. Because people are sick of both parties.
Yeah.
Specifically right now, a lot of people don't want to pick between these two candidates at all. So I think the growth and the steam is moving towards a third party type of dynamic. But I in my dream political world, America would dismantle the two-party system and we would set our government up similar to like other countries that have parliament, because I thought it was really cool that like they all have multiple parties that believe in multiple things, but then like one party wins and that party becomes the government and then everybody else is the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily like two sides just going against each other. Yeah, they're not agreeing, but I feel like in some aspects they're able to like refine skills or policies a little bit more and still get things accomplished versus just two parties working against each other, trying to block each other out. Oh, we put this bill forward. No, but we want our bill to pass because it's better than your bill because of this. You know?
Well, it's like you were talking about, like, there's a long-standing tradition of tearing down what the previous, the previous president had done.
Yeah.
We definitely saw a lot of that whenever Trump got into office, particularly with environmental regulations and stuff like that. That stuff kind of fires me up. And if anyone's watching this, I voted for Gary Johnson.
Woo woo! Yeah, let's go.
Sure, he didn't know whatever conflict area it was, but yeah, I just couldn't, and I will do it again this time around. Like, Sleepy Joe Biden. That's what Trump calls him, but the dude literally is losing his mind as far as I'm concerned, and Trump is just trying to get more Twitter followers, I guess.
It is just wild. It is just wild. Like, out of all the bright minds we have in this country, we're down to those two.
Yeah, I can't physically wrap my mind around, especially when there was 22 Democratic candidates at one point.
Many. I didn't pay attention. I really didn't pay attention. I
didn't pay that much attention either, but I just remember there was like an overwhelming number.
Too many.
More than we've ever seen before.
Absolutely too many.
And I don't know. The Libertarian candidate now is Jo Jorgensen. She's a lady.
I need to research a little bit more
from Michigan or something. I'm trying to do more research on her. I've listened to a couple podcasts that she's spoken on. She hasn't like overwhelmingly impressed me yet, but she is competent and she wants change. That's a big fact. She does believe that there are environmental problems. She believes there are political problems. She believes there are societal problems, and seems to be willing to, if not address, have the conversation about. So I think that's a big step. I'm sure she has some fault somewhere that someone will find.
Yeah, I mean, we all have faults. Yeah. And I know that I probably will never be able to become, an elected official because there are so many Snapchats of PJ in the city of Ruston having a wonderful time. And
having too much fun.
Too much fun.
This kid that was supposedly going to LSU, the 2-second Twitter clip came out of. You've seen that? Yeah. I don't understand, like, what the thought process, like, why can't you just shut up? Like, like, what is it? Like, it's easy to not be racist, homophobic. Like, you just don't shut your mouth. Like, I don't know. I think it has to, that could be addressed to anyone with any aspirations. You know?
Everyone has a past. But also everyone has a future, and we are all like rough drafts of our story, And I posted it yesterday, and I think I'm gonna start posting it every Thursday. On Tuesdays in the CrossFit group me, I do like Thankful Tuesdays. So like I tell everyone like, hey, post 5 things you're thankful for today. Here are mine. I'm like, that's really good because you're getting positive energy out there, whatever. But I saw a post yesterday and it was like, sometimes you got to check yourself because sometimes you're the toxic friend. Sometimes you're the person who's draining and selfish and all of the above. And I was like, #ToxicTeej. And like, I was writing it on my mirror in Birmingham for a while, but it's like, I still have things that I got to work on and things that I got to fix. And like, I haven't been the best to people, I try to love on people best I can, but I've definitely messed up in the past. And there's definitely been situations that I just walked away from because I wasn't strong enough at the time to just deal with them. I said, peace, like I'm out. So I definitely think that you just have to stay growing. And I think that we have to be more forgiving of people, people people do make mistakes, but people can also learn from them. We all need a little bit of like grace and mercy in our lives and in each other. So.
No doubt. Well, I think we should wrap it up there.
Coolio.
I think we could keep going and going, but I don't think anybody else is going to keep listening to us. I appreciate you a ton, TJ.
Thanks, man.
I believe we have started a good friendship.
Oh, yeah.
Long-lasting friendship. And I really genuinely look forward to what you do in the future and where you take your life.
I'm looking forward to you, man.
And yeah, I really hope that we can collaborate in some way in the future.
I think we definitely will. I think you have ties to Ruston, and we'll find out if I start setting up a couple more ties here. But, I've always been a fan of your show and your podcast, and I'm one of the viewers that you have on every video. So I appreciate you. I think you're awesome. Keep killing it. Keep being freaking awesome and carefree. I remember watching the video about you talking about how you just like sold your house and quit your job and moved, and I was like, wow, like everything I want to do right now.
Yeah.
But no, man, I think that we're the entire country, the community, everybody's gonna come out of this like way more united, way more focused, way more loving. We just got to stop listening to the media.
Yeah, my biggest fear is that our ADD society this is going to pass in the next couple months. And like there's a part of me that's like, I hope that happens because that will clear up my social media and all this stuff. But at the same time, it's like, that's petty as hell, Dan. Like, shut the hell up. Like, there's a much bigger thing going on in life right now. And, for me to even like utter those words is wrong.
But for you to even have that level of consciousness, because like I know we're supposed to wrap up, but like people don't even have that level of consciousness to even like legit check their thoughts and what they're thinking and what they're saying and what they're doing. So I think that's definitely happening in you. Hopefully it's happening in all of the viewers and just with more and more people that like be conscious of yourself and what the hell you got going on. Because if I'm focused on me and all the messed up things about me, I cannot look at the messed up things about you.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All I can see is the good in you.
Yeah.
And promote the good in you.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you'll see the good in me, promote the good in me, and we're bringing out the good in each other.
For sure.
While you're working on your toxic stuff, I'm working on my toxic stuff.
Yeah.
Simple, right?
Yep. Yep.
But
do you want to shout out your social media or anything?
I'm pretty sure I'm TJ Pitts.
Yeah.
TJPITTZ. Pitts like armpits. TJ with the sweaty pits.
I'll put it in the video and in the description.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a sticker, dude.
Oh, I got tons of them. I'll totally give you a couple. I'm just gonna end it with if you see something, say something, do something about it. Don't let injustice go by the wayside. White, black, Mexican, doesn't matter. Social media, bring what you want, the change in the world, out into the world, and don't be afraid to do so. So, thanks, guys. Appreciate you hanging in there for this whole time, and thanks again to you, TJ.
No problem, man.